Okay, construction schedules. These are, I mean, there's a bunch of things called schedules in construction. You're going to have painting schedules, finish schedules, but this is the CPM schedule for your project. CPM refers to critical path method. And every task has a predecessor and a successor. This is just an overview. It's by no means detailed instructions on how to do a schedule. When I did this in college, you took a one-year course in doing schedules. They can be extremely complicated or extremely simple, as this one is. Schedules are a great tool. When I worked for a company named Kojima, which did $15 billion a year in business, one of their mantras was schedule the work and work the schedule. And you sat down at the beginning of your project and you put together a detailed schedule and you just took tasks and you said, okay, this is simple windows. What's involved in getting windows installed? And you got to go back to the beginning. Well, you got to issue a contract. You got to get shop drawings. The shop drawings got to be reviewed by the architect. Then they got to get released for fabrication. Then you have to have everything downstream from that. What this allows you to do is, let's say we are up here and the windows, instead of taking 60 days to be fabricated, now come out to 65 days. You can see the task that follows gets adjusted. These tasks down here to get the cells ready, it doesn't work. You see how that arrow loops back? And this one is, the task is blurred. So if you come down here and you highlight this, hit auto schedule, it now shows you your date moving out 4 days. You look at it and say, okay, what can I do? How do I fix this? Is there a way to fix it? Can I get the window sooner? Can't get the window sooner? The window install is 20 days here. If we work a Saturday, these schedules are based on 5-day work weeks. You can do a 7-day, you can do a 6-day. This one is 5. You can say, all right, on the install, we've got 4 working weeks there. We take a Saturday and work. We knock 4 days off of this schedule, and it starts pulling things back in. This is very simple. When you're doing a job, you've got hundreds of tasks out there that all start becoming interrelated. And then you can go through it and you go on the critical path message, which is the ones that are directly linked to the project's finish. And you can see where I can manipulate time, how I can pick up. Does working a weekend help? Sometimes you're going to find out it's not going to help. Sometimes it can be, say, you know, those kind of things. Can I do overtime and take that 4 weeks and do 2 hours a day and shrink that down and schedule things that way? It also allows you can put a column in there, resource names over here. And you list it. It also lets you run reports. So I could give this out to the shell contractor and have every task on the job that the shell contractor has to do beyond the schedule. He takes this and he says, okay, I got to have this done by this day. I got to have this done by that day. It becomes a benchmark. It also becomes a tool for working with the clients on the project. We had out at a couple months ago, the client was all hot and bothered about schedule. Travis and I put together a schedule out there that filled up that whole wall. And It was more perception, as Rob says a lot. The client walked in, he saw the schedule, and he said, oh my God, there's a lot of things going on out here. All right, I understand. He really didn't even dig into it. He looked at it quickly, but there were literally hundreds and hundreds of tasks on there. And it was a tool for us to explain to him what was going on, show him why his project was going to finish, where it was going to finish. And that was it. Since then, we've never heard another word about it. And it's a great tool for that. It's also a great tool should you get into a project that's not going so well with the client. I've ended up in a mediation a couple of times when I was doing commercial work. And when you start taking these schedules and you go up to a task like window shop review by the architect, sometimes you don't get that back instead of 10 days, 20 days. And you just start adding these along the way, and all of a sudden you see, well, this didn't happen then, they changed this, we had to revise this, starts adding time. If you get to a point where you're confrontational with your owner, you bring out a schedule, and it clearly demonstrates where you lost time. And as I said, I've been involved in a mediation, and a guy not having a schedule cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was a dredging project. He was trying to claim weather delays, but without a schedule and stuff to back up where the impact was. And the GC was a firm named Gilbane, who was very big into scheduling. And we walked into the mediation with reams of data and schedules. And this guy was, with a little notepad. And, well, no, I lost it. Demonstrate how that affected the end date on the project. He couldn't do it. It cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. These things can be as simple or as complicated as you need. And you just start going through it and looking at the tasks on the jobs and saying, what do I need before to make this happen? And list all the items. For drywall, before you can put the drywall up, well, you got to frame the walls. You got to run your electric. You got to run your plumbing. You've got to insulate. You've got to have inspections. You put inspections as a critical path in there. It builds, as much as it shows the time frame, it also gives you a list. You can run reports on this, and there's a million different reports up here. And one will prepare it. It'll come out like a calendar. Monday, this, and this should be happening on the job. For supers, it's a phenomenal tool. It tells you what trade should be on the job that day. And you can print that out for the whole project, but we would usually do it for 2 months in advance. And you can print it out, and it will tell you, I've got S&D coming to do this, and this today. I've got the plumber coming to do rough-ins. I've got that. And it was, you didn't have to worry about all these predecessor lines and things that are on there. All of these come on, person. All of these lines, those are the connecting lines that show tasks that come before. You don't have to worry about that. You just need to know what's coming on the job today. For supers, your next couple of weeks, it's out there. It tells you, I should have these guys on the job. You can be making your phone calls. Hey, Todd, you got a crew coming this week? They're supposed to be here doing that. You can start looking at items that you got to release. We would break it down, and there's a million different ways of breaking these things down. We would have the upper portion of the schedule was deliverables, we called it. And that was shop drawings, NOAs, any sketches or revisions, things like that you needed. You could track those. Ordering materials. Did I release the millwork for fabrication? Do I have the NOAs for the windows? I see this is coming up. Did I schedule inspections for next week? It becomes a great checklist as well as, you can do reports with these where you load costs in there for each item. On bigger projects, we would do those so you could track when you're doing your billings, and you'd get the shell contractor saying, I'm looking for 80% billing, and you go to the schedule and pull up the work and he's only 60% complete. You can go back to him and say, hey, what's going on? The commercial world, you try definitely not to have the project front end loaded. They call it too much, and have too much money ahead of the subs. It's a good idea on any project not to have the subs be too far ahead of us. If they don't perform, it's hard to pull the money chain on them when they've got the money in their pocket. But the schedules allow you to do that. It takes seconds in a program like this to build a task. A window pops up, you put final cleaning. It's going to take 2 days. And the predecessor for that, well, you're not going to want to do your final cleaning until you do painting. So it'll be 11. It goes in, it pops up.
This is called Project Professional? What's this?
Microsoft Project Management. This is, this particular program has come a huge gains. In the past, it didn't link as well. You use programs like SureTrack or P6 by Primavera, which were extremely, those you needed to spend 6 months learning how to do it. Is very complicated. This one is very intuitive. There's a lot of drop-down menus. As you start building, it builds on itself. When you come over here to the resource calendar, it gives you a drop-down. So you just check, and as you build it, it adds to it. So you have a complete list of all your subs. You can reorganize these reports to print a report by subcontractor. You can print it. As this gets more complicated, you'll find that there's tasks that are in there that are not on the critical path. Installing furniture. It's not going to affect, it's got nothing to do with us. It's really not going to affect anything on ours. It doesn't matter. Those things you end up with what they call float. If you have the window install and we shortened that up, you could pick up some time. Now you can either try and accelerate your schedule. Say we shortened it by 4 days. You could try and accelerate your schedule, or you've got what they call some float in there, which is basically I don't need those windows and I've got 4 extra days. So if they're delayed and they tell me they're shipped on the day I should have them, I'll have them in 3 days, we're okay. Or if you do have them, you could move everything up, but it lets you see that in the future. It allows you to be more proactive rather than reactive. You see your problems with the schedule. Construction is a very schedule-driven industry. Whether it be commercial, residential, whatever, we've got our multi-millionaire, billionaire clients. They want to be in their house as soon as they can. This allows you to identify potential problems, potential positives too, where you're going to have things quicker. Big things on this that really help fabrication times. When you get into millwork, you start looking at it. What can we do? Can we get partial releases on millwork? You know, I don't need the whole house, but give me these bedrooms first, and I can keep moving ahead. And you start building. Okay, once the millwork's done, I can get Val on there to template the counters. Then we can get the painters in. We can get this done. Start setting plumbing fixtures, and you start breaking it up by little packages more than the whole project. It gives you a lot of information, believe it or not, that basically you put in there, and this organizes it for you. The more information you have on your job, the more control over it you'll have. These are, again, very simple. Travis and I put together one, literally it would cover half that wall in what, 2 nights? 2 nights out there. And it's important, you know, it's a PM's responsibility to help put the schedule together, but you cannot do it without your superintendent. You know, you guys are the boots on the ground. You need to have input in this. You need to be able to say, hey, wait a second, that's not gonna work. I see a problem there. We're not ready for that. You start looking at these and say, you know, we're supposed to be doing this, this, and this next week, and we can sit down, play with the schedule, adjust that so that we can, again, be proactive with the subs. Subs hate to show up on a job and find out it's not ready for them. If you've got subs that you work with well, they're gonna work with us well, it's gonna translate into pricing we get from them. It'll, you know, when they see, hey, these guys schedule the work, they know what they're doing, they have it ready for us. When they bid the next job, Scott's gonna get better numbers. I know it's a lot to try and cram into a 25-minute session. I'm more than happy if people want to learn how to put these together, to sit down with them and work on them. And we can break it down by small tasks to get you into it. And I think it'd be a very valuable tool for everybody in the company, but specifically superintendents. It's going to give you a lot of information in one place on where your project's headed. I hope that was somewhat informative. You literally are building the project in your head. You want to look at the project and see all the various things you got to, and you know them. You guys know what's going on. You're just putting it in one place and organizing it. But you sit down, you take that set of plans, and you say, this is what I got to do. And put it on paper. And again, this is just a very, very simple workflow for just windows. What do you need to get windows on the job? And how do they relate to getting them there on time? But any questions, anytime, I'm available. You can create templates, kind of, so to speak, and then basically fill in the blanks. You could have a new construction. Renovations are a little difficult because it's all over the place. But new construction, we can build a template, what you need, and then you just start plugging in the dates and the durations. You know, you've got to build a shell. You're going to have the same task whether you're building a 5,000 square foot shell or a 20,000. You know, the footing's got to go in, or the piling's got to go in, the grade beam's got to go in, the slab's got to go in, the block's got to go up, the tie beam's got to go up. All of that happens no matter how big or small it is. But we can put together a template, and then you just start plugging in the dates and the people doing the work. And then you can elaborate on it further as the project evolves and fine tune it. But that's something we can work on. Yes, sir, Joe.
Yeah, one of the things about this that's really good is everybody's had a weekly site meeting. You go in there and everybody knows going in what the anticipation is for the coming weeks. It also lets you go to subcontractors and say, look, in 4 weeks, I'm going to need you here with the crew. In 3 weeks, I'm going to need you here with the crew. Because if you start calling subcontractors the day before and say, I need 12 guys tomorrow, it's not going to work. If you sit with contractors early and you have a time frame and you expect them to be in, It gives them time to set up, it gives them time to work in your schedule. They come prepared rather than trying to squeak a couple of guys out to do your work. So this lets you go through not only what you need to do, but it lets you sit down every week with a subcontractor in a regular meeting and say, all right, in order for you to finish this, you have to get this done. It's going through the critical path. So this helps you with your weekly schedules, but it also helps you with your look ahead. Get your contractors ready to be there when you need them. So everybody's on the same page.
When I first started, going back 17 years ago, one of the reasons I was hired was because of my IT background. So I was dumped on our accounting software, and then I was dumped on project manager, which is something the company I was working for had never touched before. And when I started on project manager, one, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. We didn't have a class like this. We didn't have a senior executive project manager to say, hey, this is how you should do things. But two, my predecessor wanted every single thing put on one line item. What Carl's showing you, even in Windows or Shell, is each category has subcategories. So you get your parent and then your child, or whatever you want to call it. The best way to start, at least in my experience, is if you have, as a superintendent, the budget, which is going to be pre-built before you guys ever start your jobs. It's going to come through SMA, it's going to run through your PAs, your executive project manager is going to go see it, at least a cost control estimate. You're going to know the categories of work that you actually have to schedule out through that entire project. Once you're in that parent category, then you start looking at the children categories. For electrical, underground, for electrical rough, for electrical, lower floor, main floor, second floor. You have those happen each and every time. But it should sit under, if this is electrical right here, you're going to see those flow underneath it. What happened to me was I got 1,000 different tasks. So the way CSI was set up is it's
16 divisions.
But it's material labor, subcontractor, equipment.
Yep.
And when I started, we used to use true CSI. So if you try to take this and schedule out material, labor, subcontractor, and equipment in the way we operate as a business, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I built a spreadsheet or a Gantt chart that was 12 feet long, put together in 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper taped together. It wasn't good. I mean, it was right, but it was just a pain in the rear end. So what I want you guys to take away from this is, this is a learning process. And it'd be an amazing thing for our assistant superintendents and our superintendents to start delving into this. It means we spend some time with them, we spend some time coaching and teaching them the right way to do this. But again, if you look all the way backwards, if you take your cost control estimate, that's literally going to spell out, at least on new construction, to Carl's point, renovations are a moving target at all times. It'll spell out your parent task going all the way through. And then you start to build off of that. Okay? Questions? Concerns? Carl, anything else?
Nope.
Again, guys, it's an amazing piece of software. It really is. But you can make it a super pain in the ass.
Yeah. And it's not hard to do. It really isn't. And like I said, I'd be more than happy to sit down with people and spend time with them, show you how to put it together. It's extremely intuitive.
Where that schedule is going to come from, one, RWB has their schedule, which is always tighter than what our subcontractors think. So you go out, and as Scott's working through the estimating process, and especially on these out-of-the-ground houses, shell contractor, what's it going to take you? What is it going to take you? Electrician, what's it going to take you at each phase? And you start actually going out to the subcontractors and the people that are contracted to work for us, and you start building those timelines based on that. And as you grow in this business, you'll start to understand critical path more. Some of you already do, but a lot of it's a learning process. And then you start and continue to plug in. And honestly, then when you get to the end of your critical path process and you realize it's 2 months short, then you're 2 months overdue, then you go back and you start figuring out who and where you can chop and where you can save and where you can push tasks backwards to overlap other tasks. They say it all the time, painter's always the last guy out of the house. The painter's been working over everybody at the end of our project for what, 6 months?
In the critical path, those are the activities that will affect the outcome. There's a lot of things that aren't on the critical path. Yeah, if you can speed them up, it's nice to get things crossed off the list. But is that going to affect your end date? No, it really isn't.
And it's
as
nice
Robert
to have
said.
that document, it's nice to have that Gantt chart available. And we've had some clients recently, over there in the corner, why isn't X being done today? Well, when you have this schedule laid out, and you can show them that that is not critical path, it is not important to handing them a set of keys to turn that project over, you typically calm things down pretty quickly. What happens is clients don't understand that critical path method and what we're trying to achieve. Well, if this sits for 2 weeks, it does not make a difference in the end day of your project. We've decided to focus on this because this is critical path and we need this to get done. But having something to go back and say, hey, here it is. This is why we're doing it this way.
When we did, when we were on the beach house, we put a schedule together, and we missed it by 2 weeks. And we sat down and said, all right, let's change the path. Let's get the ceilings done before the floors, because that lets this happen, and we want to make it a schedule. But if we hadn't done the schedule, we wouldn't have known to flip it around.
But in saying that, the most important part of that is when you guys start changing things here, you document and you change it here. Because if you don't, you're going to throw this whole thing askew. If you build this at the very beginning of the job and you never go back to it, it's a useless document.
It's a list of tasks, that's all.
Right. And your dates are going to be wrong. Your amount of time is going to be wrong. It's just not going to work. The other thing that happens is a subcontractor sometimes dictate how our critical path works. We have to adjust the tactic to the terrain to hit the deadline. X, Y, and Z can't, this hasn't come in. This is stuck on a ship. Wendy lost a tub for 6 months. That job is CO, we still haven't found the tub. Okay, we have to adjust this constantly if you're gonna actually make it work. We'll invest in it and we'll invest in you guys, but you guys actually have to use it. Okay? Anything else, Mr. Hart?
Nope, that's it.
Outstanding, guys. Let's get to our Monday morning meeting, please.